This meeting is being recorded.
All right, so I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order since we're recording. First item up is the April 19th minutes. Any questions or motion to approve those?
I don't have any questions. I don't either. I make a motion.
What's your motion, to approve or
to approve? To approve them.
Does anybody want to second that?
Again, I'm going to get the minutes as much as possible.
Yeah, you're gonna last for Rob.
We'll do one conference room fee, one remote. You guys vote on this?
Well, somebody's got a second. Or somebody second.
I will second.
All right, simultaneous. I think Jim was maybe in here.
Right. Well, we can watch.
Any discussion on that? Otherwise, all those in favor here, I guess say aye, and there, if you want to raise your hand.
Aye.
Say aye.
Jim, are you a decline?
I'm with you. I'm an aye.
Put your other work down.
Not against us.
I know. Jeez.
Put Jim down as a no vote for the minutes. All right, that one carries. Group updates.
We are. We're moving. We're moving. We're receiving more and more inquiries for short out meetings, RFPs for fall conventions. It's getting to the point where we can't really tell too much of a difference between the volumes pre-pandemic versus what we're facing now. So, yeah, it's great. The issue is obviously pulling everything off. So far, we've been able to do so, but we've added all this business in without increasing staff significantly. So it's a little scary, but it's a better problem to have than what we were facing not long ago. So. I guess the only other update that I'll have, and it's not really an update, just a continuation to say that corporate travel is still not back yet. It's still very anemic for our market. So that's still the one shoe that has yet to drop.
Well, we have USA for our next meeting, so that's exciting. Yeah,
you mean coming to the meeting to talk about it, or it's
no? Then the group's going to be here. They start coming in on the 31st. So yeah, that thing.
Wait, that's just cool.
Blew up
that happened really fast.
Way more than I thought it was going to be.
You guys move to a lot more of these if they happen that quick.
Right. Well, we just need Canada to cancel things, and then we can absorb them. Updates from you, Julie?
Yeah, Mari, do you want to start with the website vendor?
Yes, RFP. So we went out to RFP for our website design, redesign, and we interviewed Acedia out of Milwaukee and Middleton Lincoln out of Milwaukee. And they came for an interview last week, and it was the three of us plus Drew Montour. And we chose Middleton Lincoln. We awarded them the contract yesterday, so we'll be going through that contract process in the coming weeks for everybody's approval.
How much does a website design cost?
So we have budgeted 65. They came in just a little under that. We're hoping that will cover the majority of it. There's a possibility that in next year, if we want to add more videos, we'll have to, pay for that out of next year's budget. But designing the website.
Do they do any content with that, or what is it? Well, they have so much already of the things. It's a really nice thing to have them doing this too.
Right. So as far as writing goes, rewriting whole pages will fall on me and staff. They will do they'll do copy editing. They'll run everything through for SEO. They'll do some headline, maybe like content excerpts, that kind of thing. And we might be able to, depending on once we start getting into the project management part, they said they might be able to do a certain number of landing pages for us as well, which would save me time. But otherwise, if there are sections we're totally rewriting, that would be on staff. To get a company to rewrite the website for you would be a much larger budget than what we have.
It still takes all your time because they need to know what you need.
Right. Yeah. But we'll be able to transfer quite a few things like the business listings and everything. Sorry guys, I'm not even looking at you. The business listings are, that's almost 140 pages.
Okay.
So we'll just be able to transfer those because they're already updated. It's the content, it's the broken links, it's all the stuff that hopefully you don't know is wrong. That's in the
Bunch of
background.
old pages.
Then can you guys manage it after they get it up and running? Can you guys know how to do that?
We're creating it in WordPress, which is what we have now.
Okay.
And so WordPress is pretty easy to manage for a layman. But we will maintain using Welter and Lincoln. We've contracted with them for limited website services because there are times that codes need to be rewritten or something isn't working, and they handle that part. Yeah. But otherwise, basic updating. Laura updates the calendar and I update everything else. It's just sometimes a widget's not working or something.
Mm-hmm. But you guys would be able to update business if a business goes out, you can turn it off or update a name or phone number or something.
Exactly. Okay. It'll be created in like a WordPress CMS. It's an open source, so it's not proprietary. The updates are already built in. That's why we went that route. If you do a customized proprietary website, then it's very, very expensive and you have no control. And if they decide they are no longer going to support that sort of system anymore, I mean, it gets into a lot. So this will be a much better fit for us.
Makes sense.
So excellent. Good job. So important to have a great.
I'm so excited, guys. You have no idea.
I have I can update the tourism director, I guess. Nothing really to update much. I don't know if you talked to Brian or not, but it's open on the website now. The position is listed and I think it closes June 5th. And he's already concerned about the lack of applications. There's only 2 so far. So, and he said it's kind of going in line with his other positions, just the lack of job interest. So if anybody knows of anybody that's interested, it'd be nice to get a good chunk, I guess.
Well, it takes one.
Go from there.
The right one.
And you said it closes what day?
June 5th.
Okay.
So it's the schedule, what'd you say it's delayed a month?
I'm sorry?
Is it delayed a month or the schedule?
Pretty much, yeah.
Which I think, I kind of, when I saw the original, I'm like, man, that's kind of aggressive. So I'm not surprised at all. You know, and obviously I don't think you want to rush this anyway. So just wait till we have the right and move forward. So.
Yeah, I don't know I'm the chair of the personnel now, so I don't even know my part of
You're higher than me now.
Am I? But I don't even know if that's after the fact, after you guys do your.
I think we're all together.
Okay.
Because it's a small group. It's me, you, and Brian, and then is it the other Brian?
Maybe.
I think there's only 4 of us.
Okay, so it is somebody from personnel does sit in on.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's kind of was the workaround for it. So.
I'll tell you, the first thing I did when I got my council, they put me in this position, and I haven't done it for years. So there's not a lot of.
Yeah.
If they trust you right out of the box.
Yeah.
I would think they would have someone from personnel.
Yeah.
That would do the interviewing.
Yeah, I mean, this is already different because the last time around it was almost everybody, I think. So, which I don't think I certainly didn't advocate for that. I think
this is fine. This is fine.
For sure.
So you need somebody who's got some experience.
I did
talk to people.
I sent the link to the executive director at Destination Wisconsin. So it's posted out on their website, and our bi-monthly meeting is coming up Thursday and Friday of this week. So I'll see a lot of the members at the meeting, and we'll bring it up again during the social hour and see if I can generate any interest from anybody in there.
Yeah.
But it's early in the posting, so.
Right, got a couple of weeks. So to me, like I don't know, maybe is that typical of the city in terms of how long it's open? I thought maybe you might even be open longer than that, but I guess 3 weeks.
It's about the average.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we've had a business development position open for since the end of March. We've had 2 people.
Yeah, we're running into the same thing. It's been a challenge. Well, I was telling Julie and Mari today too, we'll have somebody applying for an operations position that has experience unrelated. You know,
and that's what you're going to do.
Yeah, and it's, it's trying to find some kind of a mix. That's it.
Yeah. And maybe sometimes having somebody from the outside come in and run department can also be beneficial too. They bring a different perspective as well.
For sure.
They can look at things differently.
If it lists how long it's open, people will wait till, they'll work on it, they'll put it, rework it. So it may come, I would think more would come in the last few days than the first few days. So.
Yeah.
I think you sent yours in just before it.
Mine was like 24 hours before the cutoff.
Yeah.
As I recall.
So we don't want to look at any of them unless
Right? Look at the ones that come in later.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that interviews will be sometime mid-June, I guess, or
Yeah,
around
posted on the NPI.
He's going to get back to us.
That's what they're going to do with my position.
I could.
What's NPI?
Meeting Professionals International.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
You can post it on the local chapter, and
I could put that out to the buyers.
yeah, it can't hurt.
I feel like last time we posted it somewhere. I don't know where. I remember where.
You could also post it at other chapters. You could post it in Iowa. You can post it in Illinois, Minnesota. You never know. You might have somebody who
They're going to want moving expenses.
No, you never know though. Just never know.
It's the city. Though.
Yeah, I don't
Say
know
no.
where all it is besides the government website. If it's through Indeed or any
And I
of
know
those.
Brian wouldn't know all these MPI things or what I don't know if that hard what he would know.
Okay,
I
well,
mean, no
I made a note to myself to follow up with him.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. It's not cheap to do that.
Ask
Sorry.
him if he would like my assistance.
Yeah. Has to widen that because it's
Yeah.
Mhm.
I can move into the next. So like the next two items, I'm obviously going to abstain on. My wife works for night turner.
Actually,
so.
I do have a couple of things I just wanted to mention.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
They're brief. The mayor's appointments for committees, commission, and boards are going to be voted on tonight at the council. The only person that would not be reappointed would be Susan, who has chosen to step back this year. And I asked Kate Miller from the Chamber of Commerce, who is their executive director, if she was interested, and she did apply, and she is on the list. So if everybody goes through tonight, Kate will be stepping in June to take up where Susan is going to leave off. And Destinations Wisconsin has a public education campaign that's going to launch next month. This is something that we've been doing with the Broadcasters Association for a number of years. It will be radio and television spots that are going to run from June 6th to June 19th. These will be running around the state of Wisconsin. And the primary intent is to just raise awareness of the positive impact that tourism has on your municipalities and the state as a whole. So watch and or listen for that. Visit Middleton is a financial contributor to this campaign. And the last item on my list was the tourism economics report. Usually in the month of May, we have gotten the data on Middleton's economic impact from tourism to report out. They're about a month behind on everything this year. And part of that was driven by the state of Wisconsin Department of Tourism. They wanted to hold back on the numbers until the month of June. So we should be getting that report sometime next month, and Mari can share those numbers with you, probably at the next meeting. That is it for me.
Sorry.
That's okay.
So just moving forward, I can move in. I put my grant in, as I said last month, but I'm going to step out or, abstain from the next two reasons on the first. And my wife works for night turner, so I will abstain on that one as well. But moving forward into the grant request, as I said last month, I was going to put it forth. Julie and I have a friendly disagreement on this one. We had a drink yesterday, so we're still fine. But like, I think it depends on really, I guess, how this grant will be treated moving forward. I was the one that developed it. It all kind of started back in 2008, I think, between Val and I, when we had an opportunity. North Central Group at the time was willing to put some money forth to do, pay for the memberships. It was kind of a co-op thing, which has remained ever since. And, and then it kind of evolved from there. I think the first year it was $6,000 or something like that. It involved over $40,000, I think, in 2019. Between all of it, I think we were near $100,000 in stuff. And obviously that kind of tapered off because of the pandemic. And when I started that, I don't know who communicated that to you on the hotel side, but it was never really a grant that was just meant to be handed out to hotels. It was a grant that was, at least for this one, meant to sell the city. And I guess that's kind of what I've tried to maintain going forward. There's nothing that I've changed in terms of my selling of the city. I can tell you, like, of the hundreds of contacts that I had, it took me 3 to 5 years to build that, and so that's when I think it's a challenge of bringing in new faces, and dangling money out. I would be very cautious of that, actually, and just to kind of show you guys my commitment to this, the city actually made a mistake this year, and they cut my check for my grant on December 30th. So I had to pay income taxes on $28,000 out of pocket. So that was more money than you honestly want to even imagine what that is. So it's not really a money thing for me. It's more of a selling thing for me, going from the hotel and going into the receptive, and, even on the Badgerville side of things, to me, it all kind of works together. The goal kind of remains the same. Selling the hotel nights, selling the tours. And really, it's kind of transferred over from the hotel side. To sell the tours, or to sell the hotels, you need to just sell a tour and sell the city first and foremost. And that's kind of what I've always maintained and still maintain. So, just to give you, I didn't actually put any statistics on here because, as I've said last year, the going has been tough on that segment. In 2019, I think I had like 20 or 25 groups booked in Middleton. Most of those were between Fairfield and HGI. And then in 2021, I had 21, but I will tell you, completely transparent, that I'm probably over half of those canceled because of the pandemic still. And then this year, it's still been kind of a lot of rebookings from the last 2 years. So 2023 is kind of, I guess, the make or break year. I really feel like, I get what you're saying about the hoteliers and such. We kind of went through this last year where I sat on it for a month or two, and I guess if you guys have any questions or need any information on it, for sure I can provide you data for days if you want. I think out of all the market segments in the city besides meetings, group tours probably the largest opportunity still. You look at how well we're doing with sports, and just kind of all that stuff on top, together. I feel like that's our bread and butter, and it always has been. Obviously corporate will come back. It's kind of an, if you build it, they will come with corporate. We already have the hotel, so there's plenty of corporate businesses in the area and stuff still coming along. So, any questions?
Julie, do you have the last year's grant and the return on that, and what we?
No, I don't think we ever really discussed that.
Right.
What we were talking about yesterday was my impression of what the trade show grant was intended to do.
Mm-hmm. And
my impression was it was for hotel sales and marketing staff that were going to events and promoting Middleton. And that it was intended just for hotels. There was never any private outside business that had come forward and requested this grant. Now, if that's a disconnect somewhere along the line in the information that was conveyed to me, I think this is an opportunity, but as we're looking at grant criteria today, to kind of put that under the lens and see, do we want to broaden what the definition of this is and open it up to private businesses over and above sales and marketing staff. I do want to let you know that we had a meeting with Angela Wolf from GF Hotels. She's very enthusiastic, very interested in participating in programs that we're asking about. We didn't specifically get into the grant program because she's still fairly new and trying to wrap her arms around what's being done here. And I also made a reach out to Michelle Schultz at North Central Group. The salesperson that's working for the area right now, Maddie Olson, made a reach out back to me as did Michelle, and said, we want to talk about this and see if this is something that we might be interested in taking advantage of. So we could potentially have 3 players at the table here that are interested in taking advantage of this trade show grant. So my suggestion to Corey yesterday was that we can talk about it today as part of the criteria discussion, and or defer to the June meeting and give staff an opportunity to just circle back around with North Central Group and GF Hotels and see what their intentions are. And Jim, we haven't really talked to you as far as any interest on behalf of the Marriott, any things that you might be looking at doing in 2023, you know, as your business comes back online and the potential for adding staff in the sales and the marketing department. So that's my position on the grant.
Okay. Well, I have a question about the, you know, being the conflict of interest here. Would that also be part of the grant criteria if we're going to be discussing the different options that we, you know, would we want to expand something or not? Would that also be a conflict on your part to be in the discussion on the grant criteria?
I believe that's separate though. That we're talking
Yeah,
about.
I think that would be okay.
The trade show grant's different.
And the trade show grant is not incorporated into this grant criteria now. Or and we will not be talking about trade show grants as part of this grant criteria.
We will today because I have draft definitions in there.
Okay.
There was I couldn't find anything when I came on board. So I created something when we put the board books together, or the orientation books, excuse me, together a couple of years ago. So I pulled that out and just kind of tried to streamline the language that was on that as well.
Yeah, I just want to be real cautious. That
yeah,
you know, nothing that's going to come back and, you know,
right.
We're not being careful enough.
I mean, these were things, Kathy, that we did discuss last year with Mike.
Okay.
That's how we ended up on the not doing Badger.
As far as the conflict of interest with Badger in particular. And Corey does a lot of things as Dairy State and underwrites those himself. He doesn't ask Badger to do that.
I was supposed to join Julie, is, for instance, like the Bus Association, National Tour Association. I join as Badger, but I also pay out of pocket. Yeah. It's just trying to be fair. And I forgot I was going to add into the reason for the timing of this is simply just monetary planning. Normally this would have been put through March. We did these every year in March. And so that's where I was just trying to figure out what, you know.
But I just want to protect you is that nobody can come back later. So if it even borders on any of that, I want to make sure that we're very clear on it and that we're not putting you in jeopardy of any.
I think from my perspective, I mean, if I decide to be JKP LLC and I'm going to become a meeting consultant and I'm going to be going to Meeting Professionals International World Education Conference, or I'm going to be going to Professional Conference Managers Association conventions, or IMAX, which is a big international show for meeting professionals. Why wouldn't I come here and ask for a grant to promote Middleton and their properties?
I think that's the point, though. I think you could. And I feel like the other hotels.
You know, under the definition as I understand it, I couldn't because it's just for hotels.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, on the table
right
before us is, do we want to broaden that? And then if we're going to broaden that, what are the parameters for that?
And
that's
we're not
where we
discussing
might,
that under grant criteria. That's not being discussed under grant.
It is in the definition of grants. So that's on the agenda for today.
Okay. So in my head, that there could be if you're speaking in favor of that, that would be a conflict influencing the committee in a different way. As somebody that's how I'm looking. Yeah. But no, so that I think would be a conflict for you to be into, because you're sitting here and you want to expand that definition more, and we're sitting here knowing you, and then, you know, how do you know?
Are you me expanding the definition?
No, or as we discussed.
That's not me. That was stuff that they found.
No.
But if you're in the room,
if you're advocating,
you're advocating.
Is there something?
They're just trying to protect you.
Oh yeah.
And I don't. But
Yeah, that's a really good question. It'd be nice if Matt Fleming was here. Give us some legal.
Anybody playing attorney on TV?
Right.
That's just my question. I just want to.
So, and I do want to go on record as saying I'm not opposed to group tours. I mean, I think right now we're still interested in continuing to market to that group and expanding the scope of services that we have to offer on the tourism department from staff. It was more about, in my head, this was the definition of who the recipients would be for hotels.
I think the criteria just has to really be laid out. I mean, Joe, meeting planner, who all of a sudden is incorporated, they don't have a plan, right, where they can't definitively tell us what their goals are or what their objectives are or who they're going at to try to book business instead of just going to MPI.
Right. And now are we creating metrics?
Yeah.
That are attached to the grant, which is very similar to what the tourism grant is.
Right.
I mean, you don't get the money until you come back now and give us a summary of what the metrics were.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a little more of a conversation. It's just not a cut and dry. Yeah, let's do that. Or I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, based on what you said, I would be willing to make the motion to defer the conversation on the grant application because you wanted that deferred until we have more grant criteria, and then there were 2 other people you wanted to bring into that conversation as well, right? Yeah. So I'd make the motion to defer this until the June grant application.
But we're still looking to approve this.
Are we?
We're on the motor coach.
Right.
Grant.
That was
We're
what
not on the.
You're deferring further discussion on the motor coach grant that's presented here
until after we do the. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, we should.
I mean, or do we need to have the grant criteria discussion?
That's
right
what
now?
I think for sure we need that. But who are the other 2 people or is that part of just the grant criteria that you're talking
about? No, I
about?
think the other 2 hotels are interested in applying for a grant as well. Okay. But we don't have any definitive commitment from them.
Okay.
And I think that's my point is they can if they want to.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. Then this is just, should we just do the budget review? And then you would be, if all these other check the boxes, if maybe conflicts, and you would be able to lead and you wouldn't have to be waiting around to come back for that one item to discuss. Would we still have a quorum to adjourn? Enough for a quorum?
Well, I think Jim has to leave.
I do have to go here very shortly, unfortunately.
So Jim, what's your opinion on this from the hotel side?
You know, I see both points. I wasn't too clear on it until the conversation just occurred. I see both sides of it. You know, and then from just a hotelier standpoint, I see it as if nobody's out there pursuing motor coach for Middleton, we're not going to be getting any motor coach, you know, because it's a market that really needs to be worked and gone after and stayed on. So I don't know, you know, my mind is thinking, how could this become creative where Corey joins with, you know, North Central or GF to go to this show in conjunction, much how I go attend shows with the sports commission all the time. Although Middleton's funding me to be there as a hotelier in Middleton, and then Madison is funding them to be there, you know, I don't know. You know, I definitely see both sides of it, but I do know that if nobody's out there working motor coach market, we're going to fall off the map on it.
Right. Okay. My question is, what time you have to leave, Jim, but are there any time sensitive? Is this the media company publishing?
Yeah, we need a motion on
and
that.
Before
so
Jim leaves, because
moving.
otherwise we might lose our quorum, and we don't want to do that. Okay.
Do you want to have the discussion for the grant criteria? Is that what you're saying?
No, I want to make sure before Jim has to leave that we
she wants to vote on the visitor guide contract.
Oh, I
so
got
that
you.
we can make sure that moves along.
so that we absolutely got to have that done before Jim takes off. We know that you're not going to be part of that conversation, so I don't know how that quorum works if you're just
you have
a conflict. If you're not, you wouldn't be voting.
It would only be.
We have 4.
As long as Jim.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we can move into Night Turner.
Okay. And my understanding, I don't mean to be a stickler for this, But if it's a conflict, then you have to remove yourself and then we can talk about it.
Well, I know I'm just not the only one that applies for grants at this table.
We're talking about
The visitor guide.
visitor guide.
Oh, I have to remove myself?
If you're saying you have a conflict.
Oh, I abstained. That's what I did last year.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
My wife works there. She doesn't work with this,
Okay,
but
that's
she
different.
works there.
That's different. Okay,
You just,
Yeah, I'm just abstaining.
abstaining is fine.
You
Okay,
just said
So are
Yeah.
you withdrawing your motion to
You're
Yes.
defer on
we
the?
didn't get a second. I don't.
No, we
think.
didn't. Okay, so
But we're just.
okay. Done like that never happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember that.
What?
Are we being recorded?
Yeah. So
You
moving
can
on,
withdraw.
we'll skip over to the Nye Turner Media Company publishing agreements.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So as you guys know, we hired Nye Turner last year to help redesign our visitor guide for this year. We are suggesting that we enter a contract with them to update our current guide. It won't be a full redesign. It will be an update with hopefully a few more new elements. And in the contract, it states that it will not exceed $25,000. That is because with the cost of paper, the paper is changing every day. So the price that they gave me in April versus now versus whenever. But no matter what, we will not exceed $25,000 because that's all we have budgeted for. So whether that means we will have to change the type of paper we use or cut down on how many we print, without permission and approval by the commission, we will not go over that budget line. We are ordering the same number as last year. We have actually, I think we're only down to like 1,000 right now out of 6,000. So we definitely have decided not to decrease the number unless we absolutely have to. And so yeah, we're just looking for your approval to engage Nye Turner for one more year to update the visitor guide and reprint.
I move
Get a motion?
Yes.
Thank you.
I make the motion.
One in person.
Move one to go with Nye Turner for another year and not to exceed $25,000.
Perfect.
Second.
I will second.
Yep.
Any discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you, everybody. Let's move that along.
That's one of
They're
the
great company.
visitors guide.
Now you can say it. Great employees, right?
I'm so confused as to what we're
I
doing
just
now.
wanna
Are we
make sure
moving
everything
on
is
to grant criteria?
Or are we doing budget? Do we need to do budget?
Why don't you go to?
Yeah.
Does he need to be back here though for budget?
Well, yeah, maybe. There might be a motion.
For budget?
Yeah, there might be.
Let's do that. Maybe we can do it pretty quick.
Okay, so can you bring up the reports?
Yeah.
For Jay?
They just won't see you guys anymore, but I can do it.
Wow. That's true.
Very, very sporting of us.
Yeah.
Let's see, where is it?
Okay, so while Laura's pulling this up,
Thought I had it.
Ari and I pulled up the expense to revenue and budget report. That is our financial tool. And for the most part, we're on pace with where we should be at the end of the first quarter. We have got a couple of lines that we're over in already. And as you might suspect, one of those is building maintenance project. And I'm going to just table any discussion on that until we hit the end of this part of the report. The other discrepancy that we found was in other expenses, which is on the last line on the second page there, Laura. There were a couple of expenses from the city attorney that should have been rolled into 2021 that got coded to 2022. So we're probably going to be over in that line, 2022, because we will need to consult with the city attorney on the trial, which is due. Other than that, the revenue looks pretty good. We're over what we had in 2021. However, we're still substantially below where we were in 2019, which is kind of our benchmark year. We're about 40% below where we were on that. Any questions on that report? Hearing none, moving on. If you go to the next room tax collection report. This is just a deeper dive into what the room tax collections were, how it broke out between the general fund and the tourism fund, and then where we are year to date. So you can see in that last column on the right-hand side where it's down at the bottom where it says 2022, first quarter cumulative, we're 145 over what we had budgeted for that. So that's terrific. And then in addition to that, we have the Wisconsin DMO grant funds, which are in here. So right now our revenue is looking pretty positive. Yeah, it was a good first quarter. I got the STAR report today.
Did you say we need a vote on that?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. The vote might be coming.
Oh.
I did get the STAR report today. Let me see if I can put my hand on that. Our occupancy so far this year, 27%, let's round it up to say 28 in January, 41% in February, and we were up to 46 in the month of March. So we're seeing a steady incline as we're progressing through the year here. The average daily rate was $94 in January, little over 94 in February, dropped back down to $93.59 in March. So that's pretty stable, but I'd like to see that go up a little bit, which I think it probably will as we hit the leisure travel months too. So positive news there.
I spent $150 a night in Podunk, Indiana for June. Are you kidding me? We're at an average.
It's pretty low, right?
At a no-name hotel.
Are you no-name hotel wherever you are? Can't see you.
Oh yeah.
That's ridiculous.
So where we may need a little more help from you all on this, the renovation project, for all intents and purposes, everything on the interiors. I think if staff had their druthers, we would purchase some more furniture with the funds that we have left here, but we're sitting right now at $46,907, and you've given us $55,000 to work with. I think the intent was that we try to get the exterior painting taken care of before the end of the year.
And the roof looked at.
Yeah, the roof is probably going to need something. I think we can get by another year, but that's probably something you're going to want to take a look at in the 2023 budget. Yeah, there's a big
coming on. It looks like a truck.
in the back corner. It looks like a truck.
Oh, really?
Get in
They probably backed into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the question before you at this point, what we have left is about $8,000, which I had budgeted for painting. We ended up filling in some of the gaps in the flooring in the back because some of them were going to be ADA compliant issues. That turned out to be way more labor intensive than we thought and was almost $3,000. So that cut into our painting budget considerably. The quote that we got from the gentleman that did all of the work on the interior was about close to 10,000. And we had, I'm not sure if they're nationally known or just well known in the region, but we had somebody else come in today this is what they do, is exterior painting. And he threw up the red flag on the possibility of lead in the paint, which means they can't power wash. They would have to hand wash.
Oh my gosh.
The building. And, you know, Laura and I are standing there going, oh my gosh, dollar signs.
What if it flakes
Yeah,
out?
it's almost guaranteed, Julie. Anything pre-1978 is most likely going to have lead paint in the substrate somewhere, and that's going to change everything about how they're going to prep that building out. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think his concern was there were so many layers of paint on there that were chipping off that it's quite possible that paint that's way underneath there is going to be pre-code and it is going to have lead. So I came over here right away, talked to the building inspector, and they're gonna do a little investigating for us. Just see if there's a way we can take a chip off and
Oh, you
have
can
it
test that,
tested
yeah.
and see if that's really good. But I mean, our feeling was if that's what we're gonna have to do, it's probably gonna be twice as much as what we had thought about.
Well, to scrub that thing down.
He explained
Yeah.
explained the process of it, and they have to put like a tarp down to collect everything that they scrape, and then it's like the weather conditions add in a factor because of like how it could spread. So depending on how
Is
far
it
up
worth
we
just
go.
getting a bid and then coming back next month with that bid to approve it?
Well, I think that's what we're going to have to do because we don't have a clue based on what we learned today, what that's gonna be. We have 2 other ones.
However, I mean,
But I don't know if we're comparing an apple to an apple.
no, I don't think we
Right.
are because I don't think that lead was going to be factored into the first bid. But I also know that speaking with the painter today, it sounded like if we don't move quickly by within the next month or so, they'll have the rest of their year slated out.
That's just it, you know.
So
And if
yeah.
there's somebody that wants to bid on it because it's not a huge project and you could fill in quick on something, you know.
Do you think you could have it done in the next month?
I think it could be done by August
Yeah.
if we can.
But I'm saying if we don't have it lined up with a company within the next month, we might get
We have to
pushed
get on the
until.
roster.
Yeah, no, but like, I guess what do we need to vote on then to make that happen?
Well, then not
Potential
enough
more
money.
money.
Yeah.
But.
Well, that's what I'm saying though, is like, do you need the money today? Because you wouldn't have to pay for it, you'd
Or
have to do a
the
deposit.
approval to-
Or just
to
up
see
it like
what
10
else-
grand or what?
Yeah, want to make
So, will
give us
you-
the approval to, you know. The other thing that we can do, because we do have this tourism fund balance. I mean, we can take funds out of the fund balance. I've never done that since I've been here, but my understanding from Bill Burns is that would have to go through finance and the common
I remember
council
doing that. Yeah, there's some steps.
for approval. Yeah, which isn't a bad thing. It would just take more time.
The remodel or when it was painting wasn't part of that at that time, right? We didn't start out with that in the
Yeah,
budget.
it was always,
Oh, the
it was always
exterior
on my
painting was
list.
always
Right.
in that, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking then we could just address that as a separate thing and then you'd have that $8,000 so we could.
Right.
and that's the option.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I was gonna say today is we can either take that 8,000 and do the other things that staff needs to be doing on the
Well,
inside and postpone the painting project.
That's
Or
what I think. Should we just up it?
or go to the fund balance.
Well, no offense, Laura, but I was over at gallery night. Everything looks wonderful. They have this nice conference room without a conference area. I mean,
Without
they
a
have
Lacking a conference table.
5 chairs and the chair tables pushed together. It's lacking.
Yeah.
Because everything else is in top notch. And furniture for your office too, or however they want to handle that. So
Right.
there's some things.
I think those were the
really
two
Yeah.
items that were really
It looks
left.
beautiful.
And then look, beers and little.
We might
things
need to purchase lines. We're still working on that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
artwork and things of that nature.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
that's the question. Do we ask you for more funds to cover the cost of this painting? Which honestly, we put off for 3 years and probably should be done this year.
And it's the same colors because it's historically accurate to the.
I would make a motion to have you guys use your remaining balance to get the inside complete. So that's done. So you have an actual working office. And then we look at the dollar amounts and extend more dollars to get it painted.
Because it's more complicated.
But I think the question though is do we need to approve dollars today to not delay it, or can we? That's what I guess I was asking. Or can
We could
Well,
say up checks.
It might
Yeah.
be in your best interest to wait and see what we get back from this company as an estimate. And then at least we have some sense of.
because I kind of imagine they're not going to approve anything from the fund balance without something concrete anyway.
Right. But my motion would be to take care of that remaining. I mean, you don't necessarily have to spend the full $8,000, but get the inside done so you guys have a workable space.
Right.
Maximize the potential.
And the painting can be dealt with afterwards once you get it figured out. And if it has to wait till next year because of scheduling, then you get on somebody's the first of 23, right?
Do we also want to talk about roof as part of this fund balance adjustment too?
That's going to be expensive.
That's really going to be a big ticket item. And that I think might have to come out.
30 grand.
And if we're talking about doing that, it might be nice to
do it all together.
or to
It's the last thing to be
queue it
done.
up, so that
Right. I think that we could get bids for that, and then that's something you take under advisement in July when you're starting work on the 2023 budget.
Because it's the side item.
Have they ever talked about doing, well, you know, actually they did. Because last time Val was doing this, she wanted to put on a copper one. You know,
See, I remember that. I remember why there was no
The
metal.
Sustainability Committee would love you.
The metal, but it was just that.
All right, everybody, I've got to hit the road here.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
I don't know what originally was on that.
Motion to,
So the motion right now is to use the balance of the rental funds for completion of any interior work.
Did we lose
And
Jose?
saving exactly whatever you can, obviously. So, but-
Jose's gone too, if we can.
Oh, Jose, come back, come back.
I just did the stop
There has to
share.
be 4 of us.
Oh, he might still be there, but just not.
It looks like it's thinking. Jose?
I'm still here.
Okay.
Yay!
Woo, we have a black,
Can't see you.
yeah, we have a black screen, but
Yeah, so the first motion would be what, Julie?
The
What I
motion
said?
is to use the balance of the renovation funds for completion of interior work.
Mhm. That's my motion. That's good. Still obviously staying within budget.
And then, sorry, you
And I'll
motioning?
second that.
Oh, it worked there for a second.
You could second and add to her motion. Or do you want it separate?
She was gonna do it as a
I
separate.
think
Okay.
if you separate them out, it's gonna be easier.
Roast and
Yes,
sorry.
yeah,
Well, I think the thing is, I feel like we just redid it. Did we not?
I don't
We
know.
don't think you were on. I am
I-
pretty sure
I
when we
was-
painted, we redid the roof, but it's like
I
the,
was on landmarks, so that was something.
I would just say that we should have somebody come and look at it to see if it actually needs to be repaired versus replaced. Because then, like I said, it looks like a truck backed into it on the
And
side.
again, my recommendation would be that staff does that and comes in July with estimates for consideration. Either that gets put on the 2023 budget or if they're saying you gotta do this right now, then we're gonna have to ask for funds out front.
So we need to, I guess, first and foremost, a second for yours.
I did.
Oh, you did,
Second,
okay.
yeah.
So then,
Okay, oh, does Jose know? Can you hear us?
did you hear those, Jose?
I
Who's
did.
remaining?
Okay, so then I guess all those in favor, or no, I guess, do we have any discussion? I think we're good.
Mhm.
All right, all those in favor say aye then.
Aye.
Did you raise your hand? We can't see you.
We can't see you, Jose.
You're just a
All right.
little green box.
So
Okay,
that
thank you.
carries.
That's helpful.
Were you gonna
Oh,
make a motion?
technology.
No,
No, then the next motion would be to get bids for
I
the
don't know that you
painting.
need to make a
Do we
motion
need
on
to-
that. I think if you
Yeah,
just give
I
staff
think-
a
maybe if I try to share
direction.
my
I think,
screen.
yeah, I think if you just get bids.
Okay, I'll make a motion with staff looking to complete doing the outdoor paint, the painting and building and what.
And get an assessment on the roof.
Right.
Assess the roof and the use of fund balance.
It stopped sharing that should work.
And I don't know,
So-
you might want with the, not so much, but the landmark.
I remember that was a huge issue with that and the paint, like both of
She
it.
had already signed the
Cause I
contract.
feel like Val completely
I don't think
renovated that
landmarks
place
and
already.
sustainability, because if there's an opportunity to do anything, I know they didn't look at the depot when they were working on
They
that.
can't put solar on a historic building.
That's a.
Val wanted to put a
that's
copper
state
belt roof
historical
on it.
thing.
Yeah, I know that would. I don't think the landmarks would,
They won't be able to put metal on there.
No.
that's what I was wondering, if there were any metal roofs on these, because that's old, I mean,
Yeah.
old school. They
Yeah,
probably had cedar shakes on them.
So we have a
so-
motion.
The motion was to secure estimates for outdoor painting and roofing replacement
Research the roofing options.
Come back in July.
and report back in July.
I think.
I think June would be helpful, because if you decide you want
Yeah,
to
'cause
do.
you
I think we should
Budget.
report back in
June.
June
Yeah.
because we're running
Okay.
tight on,
Yeah,
I didn't know we did
Seasonality
June.
here.
okay,
if you can.
they can do that. I would say we, but I won't be there. Okay, do we have a second there?
It's me. I second.
Okay.
All
thank
those
you.
in favor say aye, or just say aye.
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 Jose?
I don't know what everybody. Motion carries.
Yeah, it's so important to keep the building up and
I mean, that's why you got to get the inside.
Those are the last, I think,
And
projects to
your
do.
new sign. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
I'll come and
Good.
paint.
Same spot, same everything.
No, you don't want to mess with
That was the biggest thing when the last one was put up there.
I'm just curious at what point paint's gonna stop adhering to that.
Yeah.
That's
If you
just
get
it,
that
it's
many
gonna start
layers on
peeling
it.
off.
And the thing is it's so faded. I was looking at it when I was over there yesterday, and I'm like, we just had that painted. It has not been that long. 6 years, maybe 7 years.
It was before I joined.
I think it was around 7 years ago, and I'm pretty sure we did rough kill, but I don't remember.
The guy we spoke with today did say the eggplant, or I think it was more as like the maroon color, because of like the brown tint in it. It fades because it looks way worse than the
It's
mustard
supposed
color.
to be brick red.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's kind
Is
of
that what
bizarre.
the historic color is?
No, it's not called that, but that's what it looks like. It
Okay.
looks more like a brick red.
And with the sun on it.
yeah, it just fades.
All right, okay, thank you.
We have to defer. We have to defer the items, like we have items on here we can't vote on.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you didn't make a motion, nobody did anything with the grant or the grant criteria.
Is that gonna put you in a pickle for next month?
No, it shouldn't, but I think you could still talk about the grant criteria and give us some directive.
Okay.
I mean, if you like what you see, and then we just bring it back up next month and you vote on it.
Or is it
Otherwise, if there are things that you want us to either wordsmith, if there are any ideas you don't like and you want us to change anything, staff could be working on it prior to next week.
Which one of these?
So what I tried to do here was take the existing what we call the application guidelines. That's the one that's got the Middleton Tourism Commission header on it, and basically just streamline all of that. It was very wordy, and I think that not having so many examples in here allows a little more flexibility as the director or staff are talking with the applicant. And then I tried to break it down into categories that made a little more sense, at least to me, as I was reading through. The big things that I took out were the maximum amount that we did have in the current version. Everything that I looked at was very open from that perspective, and basically had the caveat that it was at the discretion of whoever was awarding the grant, and was subject to funds that were available. The other thing I tried to emphasize is that funds are intended for marketing and promotion. And we kind of veered off of that on occasion with some people. And then the last thing was adding months where you would specifically be looking at grants, rather than looking at grants every month or whenever they come in. I just went by what the Travel Wisconsin does with their GEM grants. They look at them in February, April, August, and November. The other ones that I looked at were February and August. And again, I think that kind of coincides with your budgeting cycles.
So under the grant I'm looking at this one, right? This is what I want me to be looking at, right? Under the grant specifications where it says, I don't know exactly what you mean by significant paid overnight. I don't know what significant means because to a small hotel, significant could be 50 room nights for 3 nights, but to the Marriott, that's not a significant amount.
50 is probably in my head the benchmark number per night.
Okay.
I mean, that's what we used at Monona Terrace for meetings.
Okay. And that's what we usually consider when I was in the hotel business as being a small group or 25 and under, but significant to me means.
They actually changed to like
10. Okay, and but do we need to be clearer, I guess, in that? Maybe not, I'm just throwing that out there. And then when you put eligibility, organizations that are for profit, not for profit, or managed by volunteers, that doesn't, say to me restricting, right?
No, that's not restricted.
Right, that's
It's
pretty
kind of
well.
what I'm saying. It's
Yeah, so
pretty-
you're
pretty open.
We're
to
pretty
just
open to
about
anybody,
Yeah.
which is fine. Okay.
Now, what I didn't have here is groups that we might not be willing to give them to. And that I think is something we would have to talk to. There was one community that did say that. They had a list of
Like what groups, just for instance?
political groups was one, groups with religious affiliations.
Well,
And I'm thinking as a municipality, we have to be a little more open and inclusive. I mean, a private entity could make those determinations if they chose to.
They can apply, they may not get it, but
Right.
they can at least apply.
well,
I don't want-
this is just for the rules and but if it's a large group and they're planning on doing any kind of, they'd have to go for a special event permit, or is it trying to do any, that would be another question where we could take that. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, those First Amendment
Yeah.
groups.
Yeah, I don't think it should be, I don't think we should discriminate
I
in
just
a,
felt
in a
like
grant.
you would,
No.
yeah, I
requirement.
just felt like you were opening up a can of worms. and
Yeah.
did something.
Because they don't have to be chosen, and there could be numerous reasons why the commission decides they're not gonna get chosen. Somebody else might be having more guest rooms or whatever. Or it fits better in the flow of the city, who knows, but if someone really had a problem with it, there's a way to spin that.
It's tough. We had one too, just not too recently. Wasn't it listed on here too as a, it is an example.
So this is fine.
We had one that had a religious sound to it before too, just like last year, didn't we?
Job starters,
Yeah.
probably. what
Yeah,
you're
we've
thinking of.
worded stuff in the
Yeah.
past.
I think their mission was pretty, it was more about development
It's very
of
inclusive.
young
Very,
women.
yeah.
More educational, more
Yeah.
altruistic.
So you can't get too.
I mean, it would be like, are we gonna give a grant to the Ku Klux Klan? That might be something we would have a conversation about. You know,
I wouldn't.
I mean, that's
Yeah, but
from
I
one
don't know how
extreme to the
to.
other.
Yeah, how do you? There's a plenty of things I wouldn't ever want to go say, you know, and yeah. I think we should just leave it.
So I try
you know,
to keep
kind
it broad
yeah.
for that reason.
I think it'd be the exception to include something like that.
And that's probably where the city attorney would feel.
And they would probably have these too.
Yeah.
I like how concise it is. I mean, if people can go in and read it, it's, you know, very clear. But I do understand your question about generating significant. Generating.
I mean, we could spell that out. Not concerned.
I don't know if that is, I just read it and I thought,
Right.
well, what does that mean to you?
But
Significant?
yeah, you know, but if it's a small group, you know, it's a small, you know.
If I'm looking at it and I have a
Do
small
you want
group,
to
do I?
invest money in 50 room nights is the question.
But a small group and they're asking for a small amount.
I mean, if they want $500.
See,
Right.
that's just it. It's all proportionate.
So maybe you don't have to lay it out.
Yeah. If we stick with a $10, that's the big thing.
See, and it doesn't say, you know,
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, I took all that out.
Yeah, that's a good thing. So this is really gonna make.
There's no maximum, which again, I mean, I think it gives the commission flexibility.
Mhm.
You know what you've got for a budget. We know generally what's coming up in the upcoming year and we can pretty well forecast 2 years out what we've got coming based on what we get from the Marriott. And generally those are the ones that are applying for these grants,
I
the
think,
tourism
you know,
grants.
people are gonna put a lot more thought into it, not just I see the big number, that's the number I'm going, you know, this way they have to, well, what is that, you know, what exactly do?
Well, the other thing is they have to look at their marketing and promotion budget because a lot of people were just putting that $5,000 out.
Exactly.
To Corey's point, I think we had one a couple of months ago where it's like, it's just a room commission,
Yeah.
which could have been negotiated with the hotel.
Mhm.
Right.
So what are they doing to advance our mission,
Mhm.
right, and promote our businesses?
Okay. So this is different than this.
That's what we're currently using.
This one?
No.
This one?
No.
This
That
one? Yeah, that's.
Yeah, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Okay. I'm like,
That's what
well,
we're
if it's not this one.
That's what we're currently, that's why this is draft.
Yeah. Just making sure.
And the nice logo should. New, brand new.
And then again, concurrent with this, I took a stab, like I said, at trying to define the categories as I've perceived them over my tenure with the department. The destination partnership was the one that was always kind of nebulous to me. There was really no definition of what that was. And the only thing that ever seemed to be in there was the Circle Wisconsin marketplace sponsorship, which said to me, okay, well, there's sponsorships. You know, if we're doing that for them, we could be doing that for some of these events that have been coming here for years, but we can't give them a brand anymore. We can still provide them with some assistance, and that's our small way of thanking them for continuing to do business with us. And then again, the trade show grant, which was based on my understanding, it was for hotel sales staff. So I think that's one that, you know, based on the previous discussion, is up for further discussion on what y'all.
We can't do anything with it today anyway. Sign your quorum.
So Jim and your new person, maybe Kate needs to get this, if she gets approved tonight, should have it in advance so she could come prepared to you. So it doesn't delay you anymore.
If there's no action on it tonight, which sounds like there won't be, it will be on the agenda.
Yeah.
So then you need a vote to defer both items. Basically.
Are there things that you want us to address, or is it good for voting on next month as is?
In my, well, you guys, you're more, I have no problem with it. You guys are much more intuitive.
I'm okay with it, with your new one.
It's
Sorry.
like
Holding up the right one. The one that says draft. Jose, what about you?
This is actually pretty well done in my opinion. You know, I'm one of the newest member of this committee, and after I read this, it kind of make more sense than what I have read in the past.
yeah.
Oh, that's good. Glad to hear that. Thank you.
I think it's broader and it's
Right.
inclusive more.
Okay, so this will go back on the agenda then for approval, and then the definitions will come back for further discussion, in particular on the trade show. Okay. Thank you.
Do we need to have an actual vote to defer both of those items for the?
I'll make a motion.
I think we do, because
I'll make a motion to refer the 2023 motor coach grant request. You can vote on that.
I have to.
Yeah.
I actually, we don't have a quorum anymore, so I think they just get deferred automatically, do they not? If I abstain out of it, which I was going to abstain on one anyway. So yeah, I guess it's relevant at this point.
Yeah. Okay. So defer to June. Was there a second there?
Sure.
Well, there's no vote.
Can't vote.
We can't vote because
I thought you were voting.
I'm abstaining though. I have to abstain from everything at this point. So.
Well.
Postpone.
Yeah, just postpone. Whatever.
Discussion was postponed.
Quorum
left.
Yeah.
Okay. Due to lack of quorum.
Jim Strong's fault.
Okay.
So you can take that off the recording.
It's all right. You're done.
I'm done.
Are
Fire me.
Yeah.
you still going to be walking by my house? Like,
Oh, yes.
I'm usually doing yard work. Should walk by and see the mess that's out there right now.
They tore down the fence around your house.
Yeah, the whole retaining wall.
Yeah.
We dug it out the last 2 weekends. There was 24 inches of concrete buried.
They're doing a nice job on it. Are they gonna be done with everything or what are they?
Yeah, I'm
doing
working
back
with
there?
him. We're working our landscaping together, so
Okay.
it's gonna look pretty nice when it's done.
Took the antique house. And it was
Yeah,
old.
1890 something.
And they've spent 2 years now, 3
We
years?
found these old classic or historic liquor bottles, like probably from the early 1900s that were buried.
Oh,
Found a bottle that had like a white powder in it. I'm assuming it was probably like baby powder or something like that. I'm sure that glass is probably worth
yeah.
some money.
They've done
Yeah,
a really nice job. I mean, I know it's slow and you guys are next door to them, but
We're good friends.
yeah.
50?
I think
Oh, we need a motion to adjourn, sorry.
Well, wait, and on the next agenda, we'll have our new members too, so we'll have to elect the chair.
So you'll have
Oh, right.
elections.
Elections. And
So here's what I wrote down so far. Tourism economics report, trolley agreement, grant criteria and categories. And
what's up the
elections.
trolley agreement for next year? Oh,
June.
We have to decide because of budget. So if we're not re-upping, or if we are re-upping.
Actually, there's a clause in the agreement that indicates when it should be up for discussion. And it's next month.
Huge budget.
Was there something that, that mortgage? Is that it? Anybody else? Am I missing anything?
grant criteria?
Yep, grant criteria, grant categories, elections, motor coach grant, your motor coach grant, tourism economics report, trolley agreement.
Well, you said that you wanted us to have,
estimates.
Roof
Yeah.
and painting estimates by chance.
Right. Thank
I'd
you.
be really curious to see what we did there. We've made so many improvements to that, I can't even keep it straight. Because we fully renovated that building like 7 years ago.
There might be something in Val's old documents I can go through there.
So all those desks that were falling apart, those are all brand new.
Yeah.
She spent a ton of money on that stuff.
On those guys.
Just so you know, I did not spend a ton of money on mine. It's like 200 and something.
Would you get like a souter?
Yep.
Who's building it?
Dan put it together. I could not. Well, and also one of our standing desks died. They were all purchased at the
Those
same
were,
time.
I think, $2,000 a piece.
I got one for $500, guys.
Yeah.
I spent
That was when they were, 10 years ago, they were still any newer or whatever. I remember she spent like $2,000 at each. It was some of, everyone was like,
No, I spent like 3 weeks looking for sales.
Motion to
and then I had
adjourn,
coupons.
Anybody want a motion to
I
adjourn?
motion. Second. Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure. Good luck.
I think we were talking about yesterday.
Thank you, Susan.
Sure. It's
Not
been
public,
fun.
so they're-
We have a vendor's party.
Oh, man. Is that?
It's right over here. They've already given.
Yep,
Oh,
sorry.
Good.
Well, there was a ceremony.
Bye, Jose.
Oh, there was a ceremony.
Bye, Jose.
Julie,
Bye,
what is that?
Hi, thank you.
What is
Bye,
it?
Jose.
Congratulations.
See ya.
We're sorry the camera stopped working.
Don't worry about it.
I've never had this happen
Me neither.
where it went
A
like
box.
this. I don't even know how to troubleshoot this.